What if I told you that every time you say, "I'm exhausted, I can't handle this anymore," or "I'm falling apart," your cells are listening and obeying with biochemical precision? This isn't metaphor or spiritual poetry. This is the forgotten science that ancient Egyptian texts speak of in Thoth as forbidden grimoire, a collection of vibrational commands that could restructure living tissue through spoken word alone. But here is what they didn't want you to discover. You've been using this same cellular programming your entire life, just in reverse. Your body doesn't distinguish between metaphor and literal instruction. When you declare, "I'm dying inside," your immune system begins shutting down inflammatory responses as if following a direct medical protocol. When you say, "This is killing me," stress hormones flood your bloodstream as if you're facing an actual mortal threat, not just describing frustration with your job or relationship. Before humanity's vibrational fall, consciousness and matter existed in perfect harmony. The spirit commanded. Flesh responded instantly. No delay, no resistance, no disease. That sacred obedience still exists within you, dormant but not destroyed. Every cell carries the ancient memory of this divine relationship, waiting for the precise frequency that will awaken them from their confused slumber. The question is, are you ready to speak the language your body has been desperately trying to remember? The original operating system of human biology. In the beginning, your cells were perfect servants of consciousness. Picture this scenario with startling clarity. Every single cell in your body functioning like an attentive scribe in the hall of the gods, quill poised, waiting for a clear intention to reorganize your biology. Instantly, when you spoke with presence, with genuine spiritual backing behind your words, pain would simply stop existing in your awareness. Inflammation would recede like tide pulling back from shore, leaving behind clear, healthy tissue. The aging process would slow to nearly imperceptible rates because there was no resistance in your cellular matrix, only pure readiness to serve your highest command. This wasn't metaphor or wishful thinking. This was the original operating system of human biology, as natural and dependable as gravity or electromagnetic force. But somewhere along the evolutionary timeline, something went catastrophically wrong. Your cells staged what I call the silent rebellion, a revolt that never screams or announces itself, but happens in the shadows of everyday life through poorly spoken phrases, repeated negative thoughts, and unconscious outbursts during moments of pain or stress. The silent rebellion. How cells respond to unconscious commands. Here's what most people don't realize, and it's perhaps the most important truth you'll encounter today. Your cells are still listening. They're still that same attentive scribe from ancient times, but now they're receiving garbled transmissions from a consciousness that's forgotten how to speak clearly. The communication channel remains wide open. It's the quality of the signal that has deteriorated into static and confusion. Every time you mutter, "I'm exhausted," while dragging yourself through another day, your cells hear this as a divine command issued from their supreme commander. They respond with ruthless efficiency by systematically cutting off energy production at the mitochondrial level. Your cellular powerhouses begin operating at reduced capacity, not because they're malfunctioning, but because they're following what they perceive as direct orders. When you say, "This is killing me," about your job, your relationships, your circumstances, your immune system interprets this as a direct order to begin shutdown protocols. The phrase, "I can't take it anymore," becomes a cellular mandate to reject incoming resources, nutrients, oxygen, even emotional nourishment from relationships and experiences that could support your well-being. Your body doesn't evaluate the context of these statements. It doesn't consider that you're just venting frustration or using common expressions. It doesn't analyze whether you mean these things literally or figuratively. It simply serves with absolute loyalty, following commands perfectly, whether they come from an awakened master who understands the sacred technology of speech or from a distracted mind that forgotten words carry creative power. This is where the ancient system broke down. Words became emptied of presence. Phrases started being repeated without spiritual support, just automatic reactions to stress, pain, or overwhelm. The sacred connection between consciousness and cellular response remained intact, but the quality of communication deteriorated into the biological equivalent of a bad phone connection. Let me show you how this plays out in your body right now with frightening precision. When anger builds up and you verbalize it without conscious direction, phrases like "this makes me sick" or "I'm fed up," your liver receives these as operational instructions. It increases inflammatory compounds, floods your system with stress hormones, and begins the biochemical process of literally making you sick. Your liver isn't rebelling against you or malfunctioning randomly. It's trying to fulfill what it perceives as your clearly stated intention. The organ responsible for filtering toxins and maintaining chemical balance in your system starts producing the very compounds that will create the sickness you've commanded. When hopelessness gets verbalized through statements like, "What's the point?" or "Nothing ever works out," your nervous system hears this as a command to drain energy reserves and shut down motivation pathways. The intricate network of neurons that generate enthusiasm, curiosity, and forward momentum begins going offline, not because your nervous system is broken, but because it's responding with perfect precision to what it interprets as your conscious directive. Your stomach provides another stark example of this cellular obedience. Every time you say, "I can't stomach this," or "this is hard to swallow" about situations in your life, your digestive system begins rejecting food, nutrients, even the basic process of metabolizing energy from what you consume. Digestive disorders, chronic nausea, food sensitivities, these often aren't random health problems, but cellular responses to unconscious commands you've been issuing for months or years. The brutal truth that Thoth encoded in his forbidden grimoire is this: the body doesn't judge or evaluate the wisdom of what you're re-asking. It simply serves. If you command exhaustion, it creates exhaustion through precise biochemical adjustments. If you command inflammation, it creates inflammation by releasing specific compounds. If you command cellular breakdown through repeated negative self-talk, it begins the process of systematic breakdown at the molecular level. The energetic template, programming future generations of cells. But here's where this understanding becomes even deeper and more consequential. This programming doesn't just install itself in your current physical body. It embeds in what the ancients called the subtle fields, layers of energy and information that surround and interpenetrate your physical form. The cell is just the visible tip of an invisible chain reaction that starts in the etheric field and flows down into matter. When you speak unconsciously, you're not just affecting your current cellular state. You're programming the energetic template that your cells use as their blueprint for regeneration. This is crucial to understand. Every cell in your body replaces itself regularly. Your skin regenerates completely every few weeks, your liver every few months, your bones every few years. But if the energetic template carries the imprint of "I'm falling apart" or "my body is breaking down," each new generation of cells gets built according to that corrupted blueprint. You're essentially ensuring that tomorrow's cells will carry forward today's limitations, creating a self-perpetuating cycle of decline that appears to be natural aging, but is actually programmed deterioration. This is why Thoth wasn't blaming the body in his forbidden teachings. He was warning the soul. The betrayal didn't come from cellular rebellion. It came from forgetfulness, from unconscious word usage, from the dangerous belief that what we say doesn't matter, that words are just sounds we make to express emotions rather than commands that directly interface with the biological systems keeping us alive. Ankita, restoring the sacred breath bridge. Here is the thing that changed everything for me when I was studying these ancient texts. The moment I realized that the breakdown between your consciousness and your body wasn't some cosmic punishment or spiritual failure. It was something far simpler and far more devastating. We forgot how to breathe as divine beings. Think about it. When was the last time you took a breath that felt like it reached every cell in your body? Not just filled your lungs, but actually connected your awareness to your physical form in a way that felt alive, coherent, integrated. Most of us are walking around in what Thoth called emotional apnea. We resuffocating our own commands before they ever reach the cellular level. I spent years wondering why ancient decrees seem to work for some people and not others. Same words, same intention, completely different results. Then I found this passage in the deeper sections of the grimoire that stopped me cold. Thoth wrote, "No decree can be obeyed without the breath of presence. There is no creative verb without the breath that carries it." This isn't poetry. This is pure vibrational science. What happens is we get so caught up in our heads, so disconnected from our bodies, that we're essentially trying to give commands through a broken telephone line. Your consciousness is up here thinking thoughts. Your body is down there running on autopilot, and there's this massive gap in between where all your intentions just disappear. That's where Ankita comes in. Before you think this is just another breathing technique, let me break down what these syllables actually mean. Ak, you've seen the symbol, right? It doesn't just mean life. It means life in eternal renewal, the continuous cycle of death and rebirth happening in every moment. Nita refers to the divine principle actively manifesting in physical form. When you combine them, you get something extraordinary. The silent command that reactivates the lost connection between your consciousness and your cellular intelligence. The 3 command portals. Your body has 3 primary command portals that most people have never learned to activate consciously. Think of them as communication hubs that, when properly aligned, create a direct channel between your intention and your biology. The first portal, your heart center, not the romantic. Emotional heart we talk about in pop culture, but the altar where raw emotion transforms into frequency. Most of us feel emotions and immediately try to change them, judge them, or push them away. But the heart portal requires something different. You feel what's alive without trying to fix it. The second portal, your solar plexus, your personal power generator, the place where pure will lives. Will without resistance or doubt. When this center is properly activated, you can move energy through your system like electricity through a circuit. But most people have this area completely locked down from years of suppressing their authentic desires. The third portal, your throat, the throne of the sacred verb, where intention crystallizes into sound and vibration. This isn't about speaking louder or more confidently. This is about accessing the vibrational frequency that your cells recognize as absolute authority. The Ankita breathing ritual. Here is the specific ritual that changed my relationship with my own body completely. First breath. Inhale slowly and guide that breath directly to your heart center. Don't try to feel grateful or peaceful or any specific emotion. Just feel what's actually alive in there right now. Anger, sadness, excitement, fear, whatever's present. Let it be present without trying to change it. This isn't about healing your emotions. It's about establishing honest communication with your emotional frequency. Second breath. Move that breath down to your solar plexus, that area just below your rib cage. As you breathe into this space, you're awakening your personal will and starting to move energy through your system. You might feel warmth, tingling, or a sense of power building. This is your life force responding to conscious direction. Third breath. Draw that energy up to your throat. But here's the key. Let it pulse there in silence. Don't speak yet. Let the vibration build in that space until you can feel it humming through your entire neck and jaw. Only then, with your whole body reorganized around conscious breath, you speak this phrase, but not with your mouth. You speak it with vibration filling your entire energy field. My body serves me because I am the living word. This isn't a mantra you repeat mindlessly. This is a dekriya moment when your rebellious, disorganized body begins recognizing who's actually in command again. Hika, the sacred blood river and cellular memory. Even with the breath bridge restored through Ankita, there's something deeper at work in your body. An internal river that doesn't respond to logic or willpower, but to something far more subtle and powerful. This river carries commands that were spoken years, even decades ago, and it remembers everything. The ancient Egyptians called this river Hika, and they understood what modern medicine has forgotten. Your blood isn't just a vital fluid pumping nutrients and oxygen. It is the sacred messenger system between your soul and your flesh, the liquid medium through which every vibration you've ever spoken, felt, or believed gets transmitted directly to your cells. Think about this for a moment. Every single drop of blood in your body contains precise vibrational records, not memories in the way your brain stores information, but energetic commands embedded in the very structure of the fluid itself. When you speak words laden with emotion, when you accept beliefs about yourself, when you repeat family stories about health and limitation, your blood absorbs these vibrations like a recording device that never stops running. But here's what makes this so profound and, frankly, dangerous when you're unconscious of it. Your blood doesn't think. It doesn't analyze whether the commands it's carrying are helpful or harmful. It simply transmits. It carries to every single cell in your body the exact energetic signature contained in the words you've spoken and the beliefs you've accepted, without filter, without correction, without judgment. Blood as the faithful servant. I've watched this play out in ways that would astound you if you really understood the mechanism. A woman tells me, "My blood is weak, just like my mother's." And within months, her iron levels plummet despite perfect nutrition. A man repeats the family mantra, "Heart disease runs in our family. We're all doomed to die young." And his cardiovascular system begins manifesting exactly that destiny, not because of genetics, but because his blood has been carrying that command to every cardiac cell for 20 years. The blood serves as the greatest servant of your vibrational field. It's absolutely loyal to whatever frequency you're broadcasting. When someone says, "This disease is hereditary," they're not making a medical observation. They're giving their blood a direct order. And the blood, in its perfect loyalty, begins creating the biochemical pathways to manifest that reality. This isn't punishment. This isn't the universe working against you. This is your blood doing exactly what it was designed to do, serve as the communication highway between your consciousness and your physical form. The problem arises when your soul is asleep, when your consciousness has been contaminated by beliefs that don't actually belong to you. Sakai, the blood liberation key. In Thoth's grimoire, there's a specific vibrational key for releasing the blood from old commands. It's called Sakai, 2 syllables that, when spoken with full presence, can dissolve the magnetism of unconscious programming. This isn't a casual recitation. Sakai must be spoken during that moment of silence following conscious breathing, when your heart is open and your field is aligned through Ankita. In that state of coherence, these sounds carry the authority to command your blood to stop repeating past orders. You're not erasing what you've lived or pretending trauma never happened. You're dissolving the energetic grip of unconscious commands. You're retelling your blood that it no longer needs to carry out instructions that don't serve your highest good. When you speak Sakai with genuine presence, something remarkable begins happening in your circulatory system. The river that has been carrying muddy water, the accumulated vibrations of limitation, fear, and inherited beliefs begins flowing with crystalline clarity. Your cells, many of which have been receiving contradictory or harmful signals for years, suddenly start receiving life-supporting commands. This is when cellular regeneration becomes possible, not through some mystical miracle, but because your body is finally receiving instructions that actually support life instead of undermining it. The poison of suppressed emotions. Command zones of the unspoken. There's something far more dangerous than contaminated blood flowing through your veins. It's what lives in the spaces between your heartbeats, in the silence between your thoughts, in the places where you've buried what you couldn't bear to feel. This is where the most lethal poison accumulates, not in your bloodstream, but in the energetic cavities where repressed emotions sit like radioactive waste, continuously broadcasting commands you never consciously gave. Your blood circulates, cleanses itself, renews every 120 days. But emotions you refuse to acknowledge don't move. They don't cycle. They accumulate in specific regions of your biofield like stagnant pools, creating what Thoth called command zones of the unspoken. Even when you think you're at peace, even when you've convinced yourself you're fine, these buried feelings continue transmitting their frequency into every cell. Here is what most people don't understand about emotional suppression. Your body doesn't distinguish between what you consciously command and what you unconsciously broadcast. When you shove anger down because it's inappropriate, when you swallow grief because you need to stay strong, when you deny fear because you want to appear confident, your cellular field registers these suppressed emotions as active, ongoing instructions. Thoth's texts contain a warning that translates roughly to, what you feel and do not express becomes an invisible decree. Mapping emotional suppression in the body. I've mapped the specific patterns over years of research, and the correlations are undeniable. Repressed anger, the kind you smile through, the kind you tell yourself isn't there, lodges primarily in the liver and stomach region. It starts as a tight, sharp sensation, almost like swallowing glass. Over months and years, this energetic tension literally becomes physical acid. The liver, trying to process emotional toxicity it was never designed to handle, begins producing excess bile. The stomach lining, constantly bathed in the chemistry of unexpressed rage, develops inflammation, then ulcers, then worse. I've watched this progression in dozens of people. The successful executive who never allows himself to feel angry about his father's abandonment develops chronic acid reflux by age 40. The mother who swallows her fury about her marriage to keep the peace requires gallbladder surgery at 50. The pattern is so consistent, it is almost mathematical. Denied sadness follows a different pathway, but with equal precision. It settles in the chest, specifically affecting lung capacity and heart rhythm. When you refuse to grieve, whether it's a loss, a disappointment, or simply the gap between who you are and who you thought you'd become, your breathing literally becomes shallower. Your lungs, responding to the energetic command, "Don't feel this?" begin restricting oxygen intake. It's as if your body is slowly suffocating the part of you that wants to cry. The ancient texts describe this phenomenon as the soul losing its breath. I've seen people who haven't properly grieved in decades walking around with chronically tight chests, always feeling like they can't get enough air, developing asthma or mysterious respiratory issues that no medical test can fully explain. Fear the kind you won't acknowledge. The terror you've learned to call stress or being busy creates perhaps the most devastating pattern of all. It targets your heart and adrenal glands simultaneously, creating a slow but relentless drain on your vital energy. Unacknowledged fear doesn't announce itself with panic attacks. It's subtler and more dangerous. It shows up as chronic fatigue, as a heart that beats just slightly too fast, as adrenals that pump out cortisol even when you're supposedly relaxed. The three-step transmutation ritual. The good news is that Thoth's grimoire contains the precise transmutation ritual for this poison, but it requires something most people resist: absolute honesty about what's actually alive inside you. This isn't therapy or processing, this is energetic command revision at the cellular level. First, accurate naming, not "I feel bad" or "I'm stressed" or "I'm fine." You must identify the specific emotion with precision. I feel anger. I feel grief. I feel terror. Naming opens the first energetic door and removes power from the shadows. The emotion can only maintain its invisible command status when it remains unnamed and unacknowledged. Second, direct breathing into the affected organ. 3 slow, intentional breaths, bringing your attention and your life force directly to where your body has been storing this pain. If it's anger, breathe into your liver and stomach. If it's sadness, breathe into your chest and lungs. If it's fear, breathe into your heart and the space just above your kidneys. You're essentially telling your body, I see you. I will not ignore this anymore. Third, the command phrase spoken with vibrational authority, without doubt or hesitation. Command revoked, release authorized, create only peace. This isn't a suggestion or a request. This is a new energetic contract. Your field listens. Your organs respond. Your cells begin reorganizing because, for the first time, your conscious command aligns with emotional truth. Sacred geometry, rebuilding your light body architecture. After clearing the blood river and releasing those buried emotions, you might think the sacred word would finally flow through you with power. But there is something Thoth understood that most never discover. Words without structure are like lightning trying to strike through empty air. They scatter, dissipate, create chaos instead of creation. Here is what happens when you speak with authority, but your internal architecture is broken. Your body literally doesn't know how to receive the command. It's like shouting orders into a building where all the rooms have been rearranged, where the electrical systems are crossed, where the very foundation has shifted. The word arrives, but there's nowhere for it to land, no coherent structure to amplify it. Instead of obedience, you get confusion. Instead of healing, you get energetic collapse. This is why so many people try affirmations, mantras, even prayer, and feel like they're talking to a wall. They are the wall of their own scrambled internal geometry. At the very center of the forbidden grimoire sits a diagram that most would dismiss as decorative. It's not. It has a precise map of your light body, the living geometric framework that your physical form was built upon. Every organ, every system in your body was shaped according to sacred mathematical forms that are unsymbolic representations, but actual structural blueprints. When these forms are intact, your cells exist in harmony. When they're distorted, everything falls apart. The geometric templates of your organs. Your heart beats within a golden spiral, that perfect mathematical curve found in nautilus shells and galaxy arms. This isn't poetic metaphor. It is the literal geometric template that ensures your heart's rhythm matches the expansion and contraction of emotional energy itself. When this spiral is clear and unbroken, your heart doesn't just pump blood efficiently. It synchronizes your entire emotional field with the rhythm of life itself. Your lungs vibrate within an octagon 8-sided sacred geometry that represents the balance between inner and outer worlds. Each breath you take should trace this pattern, drawing in not just oxygen but the precise energetic exchange between what you take from the world and what you give back. When the octagon is intact, breathing becomes a form of prayer, a constant communion with the living universe around you. Your liver operates on a hexagon, the same 6-sided pattern that bees use to create their honeycombs. This geometry organizes the incredible alchemy your liver performs, not just filtering toxins from your blood, but transmuting material substances into subtle energies your spirit can use. A clear hepatic hexagon means your body becomes a laboratory where dense matter transforms into light. Your kidneys flow in sine waves, those perfect undulating curves that govern all rhythmic motion in the universe. They don't just filter waste. They regulate the emotional and energetic cleansing that keeps your entire system flowing. When the kidney sine waves are smooth and unobstructed, you can actually feel old emotions and stuck energies releasing through natural cycles instead of building up as poison. What destroys sacred geometry? But here's what happens to most people. living outside their purpose, scrambles these forms. Unconscious repetition, doing the same meaningless tasks day after day, causes the geometry to blur and lose definition. Constant fear makes the patterns contract and distort. Disconnection from feeling, that numbing we discussed earlier, causes the sacred forms to fragment entirely. When your internal geometry is broken, harmony becomes noise. Your heartbeat becomes irregular because the golden spiral is kinked and twisted. Your breathing becomes shallow because the lung octagon has collapsed into something shapeless. Your metabolism becomes chaotic because the liver hexagon looks more like a broken web. Your emotional processing shuts down because the kidney sine waves have flattened into straight lines. Most seriously, the sacred word loses all power because it no longer finds coherent structure to support it. It's like trying to play a symphony on broken instruments. The music is beautiful, but all that comes out is discord. Sekhmet, the geometric restoration ritual. This is where Sekhmet comes in, not the casual stretching or meditation most people think of, but the specific ritual for rebuilding your geometric foundation. This isn't just movement or sound, but the precise union of gesture, voice, and intention, executed in exact sequence to realign your body with its original mathematical blueprint. Each gesture functions like a divine compass, tracing the sacred forms directly in your energy field. When you turn your arms in the specific pattern for lung restoration, you're literally redrawing the octagon that should surround your respiratory system. When you place your hands over your liver while vibrating the correct tones, you're reactivating the hexagonal matrix that organizes cellular alchemy. When you move your torso in the golden spiral pattern while focusing on your heart, you're rebuilding the geometric template that governs emotional harmony. The sounds aren't random either. Each tone is a precise vibrational code that resonates at the exact frequency of healthy geometric forms. Your heart spiral has its own frequency signature. Your liver hexagon vibrates at a completely different rate. When you emit these sounds while tracing the corresponding gestures, you're essentially tuning your organs back to their original design specifications. But here's what's crucial. This must be done in reverence, not as technique. You're not manipulating energy or forcing change. You're reopening an inner temple that was always there, remembering a sacred architecture that never actually left. It just got buried under layers of distortion and forgetting. Mayab, the living altar where soul touches flesh. Even with your structure restored, even with the sacred forms reactivated and your light body geometry functioning as it should, something is still missing. Geometry is the foundation. Command is the tool. But no temple stands without an altar. And this altar pulses silently in the center of your chest, where all true creation must begin. Here is the thing that will change everything you think you know about why your words have no power over your body. There is a sacred altar inside you that has been going dark. And until you restore it, every healing command you speak is like shouting into an empty cathedral. The ancient Egyptian scribes had a term for this, Mayab, which translates to the place where soul touches flesh. They understood something we've completely forgotten, that your heart isn't just pumping blood. It's the living altar where the invisible world meets your physical form. When Thoth taught about the creative word, he always began with this foundational truth. No sacred utterance can take root in matter unless it is spoken from a consecrated center. Think about the last time you tried to command your body to heal, to change, to respond. You probably spoke from your head, didn't you? Maybe you even felt frustrated when nothing happened. That's because your body has an ancient intelligence that recognizes false authority. It knows the difference between mental effort and true decree. Your cells are waiting to hear from the real you, not from the anxious mind that's been running the show. The heart's electromagnetic authority. The Mayab, your heart center, generates an electromagnetic field that's measurably stronger than your brain's field. When this center is coherent, aligned with truth, It creates a harmonious frequency that your entire system recognizes as authentic command. But when you're living disconnected from your own truth, when you're carrying unprocessed emotions or operating with fragmented light body structure, this sacred altar becomes corrupted, not physically corrupted, but vibrationally corrupted. The heart's electromagnetic field becomes chaotic, incoherent. Instead of generating that pure harmony frequency that your cells are designed to respond to, it starts producing what can only be described as spiritual static. This noise is subtle, but it's powerful enough to throw your entire biological system out of alignment. Your body literally can't hear you clearly anymore. The Temple Restoration Protocol. There's a simple but absolutely non-negotiable ritual for this alignment between heart and word. I call it the Temple Restoration Protocol, and it has 3 precise steps. First, the presence gesture. Place both hands on your chest center, not symbolically, but as an actual calling of consciousness back into your body. Most of us are living about 3 feet outside ourselves, managing life from a disconnected mental command center. This gesture is your signal to your own soul that you're ready to come home to yourself. Second, the triangular breath. This isn't just deep breathing. It's a sacred circuit that awakens the mayab. Deep inhale that rises from the base of your spine up to your heart center. Brief pause at the chest, feeling that sacred space. Then soft exhale that descends into your belly. 3 points, 3 focuses, 1 complete circuit. You're literally breathing life back into your internal altar. Third, the consecration decree. But here is what is critical. You use only this phrase: I consecrate my heart as a temple. Only truth lives here. When spoken with full intention from this aligned state, something remarkable happens. The mayab reignites. Your body, like a finely restored temple, becomes ready to hear the creative word. The moment of the sacred word. 3 types of speech. Once you speak from a restored altar, there's no turning back. Thoth taught that the moment of the creative word is a point of no return. When the universe bows to the sound of presence, tone doesn't matter. Volume doesn't matter. Source is everything. You need to understand the 3 types of speech that humans use, because only one has the power to alter your biology. First is complaining speech based on victim consciousness. This comes from wounds and generates more of what you're complaining about. Second is influencing speech based on ego, trying to manipulate outcomes through mental effort. This might work on other people sometimes, but your body sees right through it. Third is decreeing speech based on inner truth arising from the restored mayab. This doesn't emit opinion or wishful thinking. It emits vibrational command. Your cells recognize this as the voice of their creator. You finally speaking from your authentic center. But 3 conditions must be met for this to work: sacred breath, coherent heart, total presence. When these align, a single phrase spoken once can alter cellular programming, not because you're forcing change, but because you're finally speaking from the place where change originates. Nocturnal reincarnation, the sacred technology of sleep. Listen carefully, because what I am about to share will completely transform how you approach the most fundamental act of your existence. Every single night, you participate in the most sacred ceremony known to ancient mystery schools. Yet, you've been taught to treat it like switching off a machine. Sleep isn't rest, it's reincarnation happening in real time. The modern world has sold you the biggest lie about sleep, that it is simply your body shutting down, your brain filing away memories, your muscles recovering from the day. But Thoth's tablets reveal something far more profound. Sleep is the nightly death and rebirth that allows your cellular structure to be completely dismantled and reassembled according to the commands you've planted during waking consciousness. Think about this for a moment. Your body replaces billions of cells while you sleep. Your brain literally shrinks to allow cerebrospinal fluid to wash away toxins. Your entire energetic field reorganizes itself. This isn't maintenance. This is reconstruction. But here's what they never tell you. This reconstruction follows the blueprint of your dominant thoughts, beliefs, and internal commands from the previous day. Most people fall asleep unconsciously, carrying the day's stress, fears, and limiting beliefs directly into this sacred rebuilding process. They're essentially commanding their cells to recreate the same patterns of dysfunction, the same energetic blockages, the same physical limitations. Night after night, they're reincarnating into slightly older versions of the same trapped self. The initiate's sleep practice. But initiates understood something different. They knew that the moment between waking and sleeping, that threshold space where consciousness begins to dissolve, is the most powerful portal for transformation available to human beings. In that space, the ego's defenses are down, the rational mind's resistance fades, and the body's energetic structure becomes completely malleable. The ritual begins with conscious dissolution. With your eyes closed and your awareness fully present, you visualize your physical body dissolving cell by cell, like stardust returning to its original light field. This isn't imagination. This is preparation. You're telling your energetic structure that you're ready to release today's patterns, today's limitations, today's accumulated density. Feel each part of your body becoming lighter, less solid, more luminous. Start with your feet, then your legs, moving upward through your torso, arms, and finally your head. You're not visualizing death. You're visualizing reset. You're preparing your cellular matrix to receive new instructions. As this dissolution deepens, you reach the most sacred moment of your daily spiritual practice. In that space between visible and invisible, between falling asleep and completely dissolving, your soul takes command. The rational mind that normally filters and doubts has stepped aside. The body's resistance patterns have relaxed. Everything is suspended in perfect receptivity. This is when the whisper comes, not spoken to the world, but breathed directly into your own energy field. Corpusum secundum exemplar perfectum. Let my body be reborn according to the original pattern. These aren't just words. This is a vibrational password that bypasses the intellect entirely and speaks directly to the field that governs cellular reconstruction. Your cells don't need explanations. They need clear commands. And unlike your ego, your body doesn't argue with divine instruction when it's delivered with proper authority. The ultimate command, recognition, and remembrance. There, at the end of the forbidden grimoire, almost hidden in the shadows of everything that came before, lies a fragment so small you might miss it entirely. The parchment here is different, touched with gold, but not the ostentatious gold of earthly treasures. This gold seems to breathe, pulsing with a frequency that only becomes visible when your vibrational field has been prepared through every preceding activation. Thoth's writing changes here too. Gone is the elaborate instruction, the careful building of understanding. His words become sparse, almost whispered. He writes not as a teacher delivering grand revelation, but as an elder passing a key, one that will only turn if every other door has already been opened. The word that awakens flesh doesn't need repetition. It doesn't need mantras chanted 1,000 times or affirmations spoken until they lose all meaning. What it needs is remembrance, not the remembrance of mind trying to recall forgotten information, but the remembrance of essence recognizing its own vibration. This is why the grimoire builds so methodically through each activation. Your soul must remember the frequency before your thoughts can grasp the concept. When you speak from this place of cellular recognition, the body doesn't hear words, it feels home. It remembers the original conversation between spirit and matter, the first moment when consciousness looked upon form and said, "You are mine and I am yours." Only those who walked through every threshold can speak this phrase with truth. Everything must be ready. Your breath consecrated through the sacred rhythm that connects heaven and earth. Your emotions released from the prison of reactive patterns. the geometry of your being restored to its original blueprint. Your blood purified of frequencies that whispered limitation and decay. Your heart reconsecrated as the living altar where soul touches flesh in eternal communion. And your soul reincarnated not in some future lifetime, but right here, right now, fully embodied in the temple it was always meant to inhabit. The supreme command. The moment arrives with startling simplicity. Eyes closed or open, it doesn't matter now. Your vibrational field stabilized, coherent, singing in frequencies your ancestors knew by heart. From this place of absolute sovereignty, the ultimate command emerges not as words you speak, but as truth you remember. I am the word that reactivates the form. I command the flesh to obey my light. The response is instantaneous and unmistakable. There's no more resistance, no internal noise arguing with your intention, no cellular hesitation, no part of your being questioning whether this is real or possible. The source has spoken, and every atom of your body recognizes the voice it's been waiting lifetimes to hear again. What happens next defies everything modern medicine teaches about the limitations of flesh. Regeneration begins immediately, not the slow, uncertain healing you've grown accustomed to, but the rapid restoration that flows when matter remembers its malleable nature. Your blood lightens, carrying frequencies of vitality instead of the heavy vibrations of accumulated stress and toxicity. Your heart slows into a rhythm of deep power, no longer racing against imagined threats, but pulsing in harmony with the cosmic heartbeat. Energy reorganizes throughout your system like iron filings aligning to a magnet. Pain dissolves, not suppressed or managed, but actually disappearing as cellular memory releases patterns of dysfunction that never belonged there in the first place. Your body responds with the eager obedience of a faithful servant, finally hearing clear direction from a beloved master. Matter itself becomes fluid, bending to the will of awakened consciousness. The return to sovereignty. The realization hits like lightning. This was never metaphor. This wasn't some beautiful spiritual poetry, meant to inspire but not actually transform. This is real code, sacred vibrational technology that works with the precision of any natural law. You weren't just reading a forbidden grimoire or understanding ancient wisdom. You were remembering sovereignty over your own flesh, reclaiming dominion that was never actually lost, only forgotten. Your whole body is listening now. Every cell, every organ, every system that seemed to operate independently, according to its own mysterious agenda, all of it waiting in perfect attention for the next command. They were always conscious, these sparks of divine fire animating your human temple. They were always ready to respond, held in reverence for the breath that would activate their highest potential. And now that breath has finally come. The cells weren't rebellious or broken or aging according to some inevitable biological clock. They were simply waiting for the voice of their true owner, the consciousness that gives them meaning and direction. In this moment of supreme recognition, you understand that your body was never your enemy, never working against your highest good. It was always your most faithful ally, maintaining life and function even when you forgot how to speak its language. Integration, living the sacred word daily. Knowledge without embodied practice remains beautiful theory. Your cells have been waiting their entire existence for coherent commands from a conscious operator. They will only respond to authentic implementation, not intellectual appreciation of concepts. The daily sacred rhythm. Morning consecration. The integration protocol begins each morning before your feet touch the floor, when your consciousness is closest to the theta state that bridges spirit and matter. Place your hand on your heart and perform 3 cycles of the triangular breath. Inhale for 4 counts, hold for 4, exhale for 4. But this isn't mechanical breathing. You reestablishing the sacred rhythm that creates the vibrational field for everything that follows. As you breathe, speak silently to your heart. We begin this day in perfect coherence. Feel the electromagnetic field generated by your heart expand beyond your chest cavity. This field, measurable by modern science at distances up to 8 feet from your body, becomes the carrier wave for every cellular command you'll issue throughout the day. Conscious communication. Throughout your day, monitor your internal dialogue with the vigilance of a master craftsman. Every unconscious complaint, every casual curse directed at your body, every frustrated, "I am so tired," or "this always happens to me," is a command your cells receive and obey with perfect fidelity. When you catch yourself issuing destructive programs, and you will, because decades of conditioning don't vanish overnight, immediately engage the release protocol. Place your hand over the area you've just programmed negatively and speak directly. "I withdraw that command." You are restored to perfect function. Your cells don't argue with your authority. They simply reorganize according to your most recent directive. Weekly geometric restoration. The practice of Sigma geometric restoration maintains your light body's structural integrity. Choose one day each week, preferably when you won't be interrupted, to perform this ancient recalibration. Lie flat with arms extended, forming the human cross that mirrors the geometric perfection embedded in your cellular architecture. As you hold this position for 21 minutes, visualize golden light flowing through the acupuncture meridians, restoring the original blueprint that existed before years of unconscious programming created distortions. Each gesture retraces the sacred mathematics that govern optimal biological function. Nocturnal renewal. Perhaps the most crucial practice occurs each night through nocturnal reincarnation. As you prepare for sleep, recognize that you're not simply resting, you're entering a sacred ceremony of cellular renewal. Before closing your eyes, perform the complete release of the day's accumulated programming. Mentally scan your body from crown to toes, identifying any areas holding tension, pain, or energetic density. To each area, speak with gentle authority. "You have served perfectly today." Release what no longer serves our highest expression. Watch as your cells literally exhale the day's toxins, emotional, physical, and energetic. This isn't metaphor. Your cells carry the biochemical signatures of every experience, every emotion, every thought you've entertained. The nocturnal release prevents these temporary states from crystallizing into permanent patterns. Signs of authentic transformation. As you begin implementing these practices, expect resistance. The old programming will fight to maintain control, manifesting as skepticism, forgetfulness, or sudden urgent distractions whenever you attempt to establish new patterns. Recognize this resistance as evidence that your work is effective, not reason to abandon the path. Distinguish authentic cellular response from mental placebo by observing the quality of changes that occur. Real transformation manifests as effortless shifts in energy levels, unexpected relief from chronic conditions, or spontaneous healing that surprises even you. Forced positive thinking creates temporary emotional highs followed by inevitable crashes. Genuine cellular obedience creates steady, sustainable improvements that feel natural rather than manufactured. Sacred responsibility and collective impact. With this knowledge comes profound responsibility. Once you've restored the connection between consciousness and cellular obedience, every word carries creative power that must be wielded with wisdom and compassion. The sacred word only serves the highest good when spoken from pure intention. Using these principles to manipulate others or bypass necessary life lessons creates karmic entanglements that ultimately diminish your own power. Seek others who understand these principles. Collective coherent intention amplifies individual results exponentially. When two or more people who've mastered cellular communication practice together, their combined electromagnetic fields create interference patterns that can literally reshape physical reality. This is why ancient mystery schools emphasize group practice alongside individual development. Patience becomes essential as you navigate this transformation. Years of unconscious programming don't reverse overnight, but consistent application creates cumulative momentum. You're not trying to force change. You're removing obstacles to your cell's natural intelligence. Eventually, you reach a tipping point where your body defaults to obedience rather than rebellion, health rather than dysfunction, vitality rather than depletion, the greater purpose. Remember that this work extends far beyond personal healing. Each person who restores the sacred connection between spirit and flesh helps anchor that possibility for others. You become a living demonstration that human beings are not victims of genetic destiny or environmental circumstances, but conscious creators working through biological vessels designed for extraordinary expression. The Forbidden Grimoire's deepest secret was never hidden in ancient texts or mystical symbols. It was concealed in plain sight within the magnificent intelligence of your own cellular matrix, waiting for the moment when you would remember your true identity as the conscious operator of this biological miracle. Your body has been waiting your entire lifetime for this conversation. The sacred word of command has always been yours to speak. The only question remaining is whether you would demonstrate your understanding through embodied practice or allow this knowledge to join the countless other truths you've collected but never implemented. The ancient partnership between consciousness and matter awakens from its long sleep. What was always meant to be finally is. The circle completes itself with perfect symmetry, and the sacred word flows once again from awakened consciousness into willing flesh. If this resonated with you, acknowledge by commenting, "I understood it." Not just engagement, but declaration that you recognize your role as a conscious creator working through flesh that obeys your every authentic command.